why investors typically are putting property into an LLC.
Okay, well, Heather, first of all, the way that I start every presentation, whether it's for a crowd of people that are just getting started or even thinking about getting started, or even if it's, seasoned investors that have been doing this for a long time that have actually implemented a lot of the different strategies that we talk about, it all begins the same way. And part of that is because I look at it and I say, Vince Lombardi, one of the greatest football coaches of all time, he used to start every season with the basic information. He would hold up and he'd say, gentlemen, this is a football. And he would begin from there. And I mean, the guy's legendary coach, the Super Bowl trophy is called the Lombardi Trophy for a reason. And I like that because he just said, hey, we always have to start with the basics, because a lot of times people forget about that. And to me, the basic thing to start with is something I learned when I was first getting started in this. And it's this right here. The government and other sources are attempting to place a lid on wealth. Now, that lid is an acronym for the 3 legal pitfalls that we're all going to face of lawsuits, income taxes, and death taxes. With those lawsuits, first of all, we're talking about protecting yourself from liability. So any sort of liability that you may have with regard to your real estate holdings, you've got to keep all of that separate. And if you're able to keep it separate, then in the event that somebody sues you on one of those properties, at least all that they can get is that property. Now, the reality is what was really exposed is your equity in that property. So, and I'm just going to give like a quick, for instance, right here.
Yeah, no, it's super helpful.
Yeah, because here's the thing that people don't understand. They think, okay, if I've got a property and I'm just going to use, even numbers to make it easy for illustrative purposes. Say you got $100,000 property. Well, if you put, 10%, 20% down, now you took out a mortgage on it, you owe, $80,000 or $90,000. You don't stand to lose $100,000. What you stand to lose is the amount of your investment in that property. Now, early on, if all you have is 10% down, or, ideally we have even less than that, if we're able to maybe put some deals together with no money down, that's ideal. But that's what we're looking to protect initially, at least. Because it's not that somebody's going to take the full 100,000, because you don't have a full 100,000. First of all, if you took out that mortgage, whoever loaned you the money, whether it's a bank or some other source of funds, a different type of lender, they've got a perfected security interest on that. So really, it's not your property yet. It's really the bank's property. And we all are familiar with that concept. So that's what I kind of look at, first of all, with lawsuits, is how much are we protecting? So even if, and here's the thing I want to make sure I point out from the very beginning. I just minimized your exposure by saying, hey, it's only $10,000.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the challenge. If they sue you for far more than that, and you don't have that property in a legal entity that gives you limited liability protection, such as the LLC that you mentioned, now you are the owner. Well, as the owner, they could go after your personal assets. So I mentioned that for a couple reasons. Number one is to show why you would have a limited liability company, and that is to limit your liability to what's in that company. So even in that scenario where I said you put 10% down on a $100,000 property, all you have to preserve right there is $10,000.
Yeah.
Well, you still want to have an LLC, even if it's just $10,000. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, is that they think, okay, well, all I have is $10,000. Maybe I don't need an LLC yet. And I'd say, actually, you definitely need an LLC, because that $10,000 is all that's available for that person that wants to sue you to go after. Right in that scenario. If you don't have that LLC, now they could go after your personal assets. So now your liability is far greater, but sometimes people make the mistake of thinking, yeah, but I'm just getting started. I don't really need an LLC yet. And I say, quite contrary to what you're thinking right there, you actually do, even more so when you're first getting started. So hopefully that kind of addressed that.
Yeah.
And then the income taxes, because you can save a lot of money on your taxes, but then also death taxes. I say we've got to have a plan in place to protect, because we're all going to die and we're all going to be faced with taxes. As they say, the two certainties in life are death and taxes. So we've got to make sure that we cover those too. And having a properly structured plan can help you to do that.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I have a lot of clients that the LLC is kind of cumbersome. right? Like it just takes time and energy and making sure that you follow all the rules, because my understanding is when you set up the LLC, you have the income from that property going into a bank account under the name of that LLC as well. And so making sure that you have the proper documentation alongside the LLC is important.